Sending you so much love and good energy. So much love and good energy. Some people think that's BS, and that's okay. You're entitled to that opinion. And if that's you, you're entitled to that opinion. I know for a fact and scientific fact that energy is real, and we are energy, and it is real. For instance, every time I make one of these videos, I'll have this avatar in my mind about who I'm speaking to. And I love, by the way, we're going to talk more about this, those of you who are making comments and then a lot of direct messages for maybe the shy ones. But I would love it if you would just comment, because I think then we start the conversation and then I really know who I am speaking to. But I always have this avatar in my mind. And sometimes, or actually pretty much all the time, after I've posted a video, the avatar starts speaking to me. And this avatar, a lot of times, points out the things that I was insecure about or worried or didn't like. And a lot of times, then that is voiced through one of you. The opposite happens when it's something really positive. Energy is also real because, how many times have you thought of somebody that you haven't spoken to in a long time, and then they call or text or something? Nobody calls anymore. What are we talking about? You text or do whatever. But see, with all of that too, we are so inundated with social media now. This has changed everything. What I really want to speak to you about today is all of that, but let's tie it up in a nice pretty bow, shall we? Yesterday I posted about being sort of a loner. And if you're a loner, then that's a good thing because you're a leader. And I was speaking about how it's lame to have friends. Well, I got called out. Can you believe it? I got called out. And I love it. And I'll tell you why. I also received some other really cool messages. Not that that one wasn't cool. That was really cool. And it inspired this video right now. But some other messages about how it resonated. So I want to speak to a few different things here. And you might fall into a myriad of these camps, if you will. There's people who have been controlled. There's people who are controlling. There are people who somehow have escaped all of that. And that's amazing. Like Jesus, Buddha, maybe you, if you reach that state of enlightenment. Not that you're always controlled, but there's a certain level of control that we all agree to, right? By following the rules on the street or the traffic laws or different things. Some of us, right? Some people are doing some very creative driving. But for the most part, we're following certain rules. But where this gets muddy is when, and I quote, and I do the air quotes because it makes it like friends. I don't know, like the friends that I'm speaking of that I say are lame are not true friends. They're people who are trying to govern you and extend that control, maybe because they're being controlled by traffic laws and laws of the universe, and so they feel out of control and want to control something. There's a million reasons why, or it was taught to them by their parents, or abuse, or a lot of different reasons why people want control. It really comes down to fear. Anytime you try to control anything, it's fear, and we all have bits of that inside of us. I have to watch myself from being a helicopter mom because I want safety for my daughter. I want safety. And I also need to let her explore, and there's going to be accidents and she's going to scrape her knee, and I have to allow some things to happen so that she can unfold and learn her process. So how many times, like during this pandemic, and I'm not even going to speak on specifics. We all are grown-ups here, right? So we understand. There were some people on one side of this specific about how we go about being safe, and that is the way, and that's the only way. Otherwise, you're a total jerk. And then there were other people that thought there are actually other ways to be safe. And I'm still holding an intention of safety, but the way I'm going about it is different. And that caused a lot of friction, right? A lot of upset. I mean, people were straight out calling each other murderers. I mean, some of you guys out there, y'all got crazy. I mean, some people were, families, friends, people split up over this stuff because, no, my way is safer. No, my way is safer. No, you're doing it wrong. No, you're doing it wrong. And the people, in the middle also got attacked because it was like, you pick a side. And that's sort of how I felt and have felt much of my life, is a lot of times why do I keep doing that? Groups. No, actual groups of people, like cliques, say, we all agree with this. And you have to, across the board. And I've always been a free thinker, so I don't agree with something across the board. That's always been my problem with politics. I don't understand how you can agree across the board. There are vast issues that are very different. How could you agree on all of those across the board and then be like, boom, that's my political party, or boom, that's my political party? So I've never affiliated with a political party. I leave politics out of my studio and theater because I really want to actually encompass as many different viewpoints as possible. That's very unpopular nowadays. It's like, no, you have to think this way. You have to be on this agenda. And I'm not scared of ideas because I'm open to learning things. So even if somebody I totally disagree with, I can learn something about maybe even how much more I agree with what I think. Or maybe I open myself up to a new viewpoint. So that even makes some people really mad because they say, you have to pick a side. I've always thought blind elections would be amazing because then we'd really know. Like if you didn't even know what these people look like, they could only market to you about the policies, and then we all just voted on policy, and then you got to see how it shook out. It's like a test. You're like, oh my gosh, I voted that way? I had no idea. I had no idea I would vote that way. And be really honest instead of in that group mentality of like, we all think this. We all think this. We hate them because they think that, and they hate it. Okay, good. We're in our troops. And that's been my issue with a lot of politics because I feel like they make you do that. That's been my problem with a lot of cliques. So when I speak saying, I got a little quiet because my neighbor just came out, I feel like, woo, got self-conscious. Even though I'm talking to all you guys, see, it's the people pleaser in me that never wants to disrupt somebody else's energy. I'm so protective of my energy that I want to honor other people's energy as well, even if it's something different than what I'm doing. So the way I got called out, and I love it, yesterday about the video that I made is I got a couple of private messages saying, really, Leah? You have 0 friends? Really? Come on, you have to have one friend. You have one, And these were some people that I don't know, like were Facebook friends or whatnot. And I said, okay, I think, first of all, you missed the entirety of what I was saying, because the term friends, I'm saying we can reassociate that term maybe, since we're redefining so much as we evolve. The term friend to me in the past has meant, you're my friend. This is how other people have treated me. You're my friend, and so that means you have to agree with what I think. You have to do what I say. You have to owe me explanations if you set up a boundary, all these type of things. And what I've learned in my evolution is that a real friend, which I actually now call more like a soul sister or brother, which is what I said, like, so it's like somebody who you're connected to on a cellular level, right? You understand that you're both evolving. And so you respect that time and space for the other person to unfold the way that they need to, even if that means that they need space away from you. In the past, why I say I don't want friends or friends are lame, because in the past, a lot of times the friends I've experienced are friends who think that they own you And this could be in a romantic relationship, kind of a friendship, or like a friendship that you just, met somebody. And I have actually a lot of people around me and with me and connected on a cellular level with me that I'm so grateful for. So don't get me wrong. I don't have the friends in that paradigm that I used to play in of people pleasing and, okay, I have to work hard at this. It's a friendship and you set the rules and I'll just do what you say. And, oh, you didn't like that? Okay, I'll adjust and I'll explain what, and it's just this perpetual people pleasing. That's not what I am engaged in anymore. I have a lot of people in my life that I'm so grateful for all around the world. I'm so grateful. So many beautiful people. So many blessings to that emergency. So don't get me wrong, I'm not a total loner in that sense. When I come together with people, I want to be there. It's not out of obligation, because that's what it takes to work at a friendship or something. And the people that I have in my life understand at any moment things could change, and that's okay. And we give each other that freedom and space. That's the soul family that I have. And I have a lot of those people in my life, actually. If you have one or two, that's great. I have, what do I have of that kind of a cellular level? Maybe 6 people, maybe more. And then there's some other people who we have this deep connection with, like people who I coach, people who I help. I have a deep connection with them and their soul family as well. But it's a little bit of different agreement, right? Because I'm coming in to coach them. So it's an agreement based upon I am helping them. See, I don't just coach my cellular family, the people in my life. We're not just coaching each other. But when somebody solicits that advice and pays for that, it's a whole different invitation. It's a different relationship. Just like when you have a therapist or something, it's a different dynamic. Doesn't mean it's lesser or that I care less about those relationships. It's just a different dynamic. So I have a lot of those people in my life who enrich my life. And then I have family. And I have a lot of beautiful family. And number one is my daughter, of course, because that's our nuclear immediate family. And I love spending time with her. I love it. Love. For a long time, I was even scared about saying I was a single mom. And I, as many of you who followed know, I say double parent because something's not lacking. So the thing that I want to, although, partner would be great, but nothing's lacking. We have the best time. I love being a mom. I've always wanted to be a mom. Now I get to be a mom to this amazing dynamo of a person named Faith. It's one of my biggest dreams in my life fulfilled, and I get to experience it every day. So it's like Christmas every day. So I have a very, very full life, very full. And because of that, I'm really protective of my energy. Before I started my business, and especially early on, I've had this business now for 9 years, acting studio and theater, right? And especially for the first 4 years before my daughter was born, I was still really heavy into that people pleasing. And I was just drugged down trying to explain to everybody about what I was doing. And you start asking for permission almost, because then they start giving you unsolicited advice, right? So that's why it's different than when somebody's giving me, I'm giving them solicited advice, or somebody's giving me solicited advice. But I was receiving all this unsolicited advice. And then not only that, they weren't just suggestions. It was like suddenly now this is what you're supposed to do. And if you don't, you're going to get a scolding or something. And because I always wanted to make everybody happy, I would try to do that for so many different people, including my students, until my cup was run empty. It was just completely out. I had nothing left to give. when by the time my daughter was born, and that was such a huge blessing, because then I could have this rebirth and birth of my daughter, where I really got to reprioritize and say, wait, that's not working anymore. So first I wanted to clear up that, of course, I do have people, and I'm blessed for that, but I've been very intentional with that, because I'm very protective of my energy, and because I do give so much as a teacher, and I love that, as a mom, and as a soul connection with any people in my life. I work at being present, not always in my best. Sometimes I'm on my phone. My daughter's gets the most of that, where I'm on my phone because I work a lot on my phone. But when I'm with somebody, I don't look at my phone. For those of you soul family that I spend time with, that I'm not on my phone. You could text me when you're with me, and I won't see it probably till like 6 hours after we've stopped hanging out. And I'm like, oh, you text me earlier that you were by the restroom waiting for me? Sorry, I didn't know. Because I really want to be present. When I made an arrangement to be with somebody, I'm there. And I do share on social media, my daughter and I, because I think it brings joy, because I receive that feedback, and that's my mission, is to help spread positivity and to raise consciousness. So I love sharing with things of my daughter and I. And other than that, I'm sharing meditations, these YouTube things, stuff like that. I don't share a ton, if any, of me hanging out with people. Because to me, energetically, it pulls me out of the moment. It pulls me out of the moment when I'm with my daughter, and I do it sometimes. So for me, I've limited it to those times. And a lot of times when I've hung out with people, I was just out to dinner with somebody the other night, and I'm like, man, I wish I'd taken pictures. And I think I just spit. Sorry. But I don't do that when I'm out. If I go out with you, I'm not constantly taking pictures, because I want to be there with you. And I really try not to do that with my daughter as well. She gets mad. So I don't do that with my daughter, because I do it, but not a ton, because it takes up a lot of energy. I'm just looking at some notes, because there were some really good questions. So another person had direct messaged me and just was asking about, wow, Lea, you've been controlled. I always thought that you seem like a strong person. That is a misconception. And I think a lot of people who've been in the situation that I've been, as a recovering people pleaser, empath, all those type of things, right? Who have come from situations, especially in early childhood, where you learn to cope, you learn to find safety by taking care of other people, by putting your needs on the back burner and serving other people. Some people think that makes you like you weren't strong. So I got a comment saying, I thought you were really strong. You seem like a very strong person. Yes, empaths are extremely strong, actually. So that's the misconception. And that's where a lot of people just want to be silent and just protect your energy, because you want to explain, because the urge is to want to explain. And then you go into that loop again to want to explain, like, actually I am strong, or defend yourself. And then you're back in that loop, and you deplete the energy. So now I'm very, very protective of my energy, so that I have more to give. So it's not that I am this like, oh, I'm just all by myself and I wish somebody would play with me, but I'm just a loner. I guess that makes me a leader. No, that's not what I'm saying. It's not from any sort of victim mentality at all. It's from a very responsible, I am protective of my aura, of my energy. I'm very cognizant now when I'm around somebody what it does to my energy. And yes, I have growth and evolution for my own personal process. Something that was pointed out to me that was interesting was like, do you suppose you like emotionally unavailable people because they don't require a lot of your energy? And that is true. So I definitely got called on that one. I think oftentimes I'm attracted to emotionally unavailable people, especially in like romantic relationships, because they're not demanding, because they're not controlling. They're just aloof, doing their own thing. And I'm like, oh, cool, because then I can do my own thing. But then what happens is then I suddenly am like really drawn to that, because I'm like, oh, finally, it gives me space. It gives me room to like you, and it gives me space to breathe. And then I love that. But then I'm giving them that energy that was coming at me from over here, right? So the evolution for me is finding that balance now. Finding that balance of somebody who is emotionally available and also willing to give that space that isn't in a codependent. So I guess that's what really I should say, is that it's these codependent relationships, friendships or romantic, that say, okay, now that we're in this binding contract, I own you. You have to ask me permission to live. And that might sound harsh to those of you who've never experienced that level of control, but for those of you who have been in controlling codependent situations like that, you totally get what I mean. And so it's hard sometimes to break out of that, because then people say, oh, I thought you were strong, or why do you always attract all those people? And then you start explaining and defending, and then you're in the loop. So instead you pull way back, you give yourself that space energetically. And this can be tough sometimes for people who have had like a spiritual awakening, because we're talking about being one with everything and one with everybody. And for some of us empaths, we're like, I don't want to be one with everybody. I need to actually separate and find my own frame, because otherwise I'm absorbed in their energy and their needs and their wants. And then I'm constantly trying to fulfill that. And that's not healthy for me or them. So those are the type of relationships I don't play with anymore. I really don't. And it makes some people very, very mad. So another comment that I received was, what about people who want you to constantly explain why you're setting up this boundary because they think it's stupid, or they think it's ridiculous, or, you know, they gaslight you into thinking it's not even happening. And so then you just get quiet. And I've had that experience too. Then you just get really quiet. I have this one person who continuously contacts me to blame me and scold me and tell me how they want to talk to me so they can tell me how I've done it wrong. Uh-oh, we have a shirtless little person here. Faith, go get dressed, please. Go get dressed. Dear God, never a dull moment. See what I mean? I'm living a very full life. So please don't get me wrong when I say the thing about being on your own.
More milk.
Okay, hun bud. How about some manners? Please? Okay. Give me a minute, please. Oh, speaking of Faith, that was a good intro, because I wanted to mention that. She was just saying to me last night when I was reading her stories and we were going to bed, she said, honey, she said, Mommy, what do you do? She said, I have a friend at school who I really like, and I like to play with her, but not all the time. But when I say, you know, I don't want to play with her, she gets mad. And then she goes, tells the teacher, what would you say? And I said, well, honey, that's tough, you know, but I would just tell her, thank you so much for offering. I don't want to play right now, but maybe next time. And she said, yeah, I do say that. But then she just gets mad and she goes and tells the teacher. And then the teacher say, you know, well, Faith doesn't have to play with you. And I thought, that is so profound. See, that is the people that are the people that I'm connected with now, are people who get that if I'm not talking to them, they give me the benefit of the doubt. They think, oh, Leah's up to something. And I give them the benefit of the doubt, because the people that I'm co-creating with are doing big things. So we give each other this mutual respect that if we're not speaking right now, it's nothing personal. It's not like, oh, our contract is null and void and cross them out, X them out, I guess cancel them, block them. No, we just go, oh, I bet they're up to big things. I bet they're doing stuff. And we give each other the benefit of the doubt. And then we're excited when we come back together so we can talk about what's going on, what's going on with your heart. And we don't communicate with each other from a place of like, oh, well, you should have done that, or you should have done this, or how are you going to do that, or what are you going to do that? We don't interrogate. So some of these group paradigms and cliques and things, in my experience, have been interrogations. And I've actually had friends say, and again, friend isn't, maybe, I don't know, these are not good terms. Codependent people say to me, Lea, you need to text back at this time. You need to do this at this time. And if you don't, they'll inundate you and then scold you. I don't put up with that. So for those of you that have never experienced that, because I also received messages like that said, I've never experienced that in my life. Everybody's just so loving and warm to me. I've never had an issue with somebody judging or trying to control me in any way, shape, or form. And I say, that is amazing. Keep doing whatever you're doing. But for some of us, that hasn't been the experience. For some of us who learned early on in early childhood that our needs were not as important as the needs of somebody else. And so that's why this idea of being selfish and stuff is dangerous too for somebody like us, because like, oh my God, we feel guilty. We feel guilty for taking a nap. Sometimes I used to be like that because there's so many things that people need. How can I be so selfish? So now when people say you're selfish, I say, oh, good. I've evolved. That's amazing. Good. Because I used to never be. I used to never put myself first. So that's what's changing for me. And it's attracting a whole different group of people. Not group, because it's eagles of people. They're all eagles. They're all leaders, the people that I connect with and co-create with. So that's why I was speaking to those of you who have felt that, who have had their good nature taken advantage of, and are breaking that pattern of over-explaining, even though I just explained in this video what's going on. But I'm doing this because I want to bring awareness, because I think awareness is key. I'm on this big mound of pillows over here, if you're wondering what I'm bouncing around. So awareness is key. So with faith, it starts very young. It starts right there. And then I also understand the other side of it when somebody doesn't want to play with you. I've been on that side of it too. I've totally been on that side of it. And it's hard because it triggers a knee-jerk response in you that's like, wait, why don't they want to play with me? What's wrong with me? Oh, so they're better? Somebody else is better or whatever? And the real loving, unconditional love response would be, okay, I get that. That's fine. Even if it isn't what you want. Even if it's a romantic relationship and they say, I want to go be with other people. Ow, that hurts. But I love you enough to say, if that's what you want, that's your soul's calling for your evolution, go do that. And I'm not responsible for other people's feelings, period. You are not responsible for other people's feelings, period. So this person, before my battery died, I think, that I was talking about, who still reaches out and scolds and blames via email and things like that. And I don't respond because it's just a never-ending loop, because it'll never be enough. And I can tell immediately now by the language. And so again, for those of you who are like, I've never had this experience. Everybody in my whole life has always been just loving and warm and never tried to be controlling or judging. You are doing something awesome, and maybe you learned a different much healthier pattern than a lot of us people pleaser, recovering people pleaser, codependent people learned, which again is other people's needs are more important than your own. So now I recognize the language when somebody is filled with blame over and over. Lea, if you would only do this. Lea, you did this wrong. Lea, if you would only do that, please call me. Please talk to me so that I can tell you more about what you did wrong. And then when you come back, you can apologize and own up to it and show me and prove to me how you're better. I don't do that anymore. When I hear language like that, I just pull way back, and I guess today's term is a ghost ya. I'll ghost ya. Because it's nothing mean, or I just know that that's a bottomless pit now. I used to always want to explain because I want you to understand me. And I want you to understand that my heart is in a good place, and that even if it's painful, whatever it is, it's out of love. And I want people who misunderstand me to get that. But I also finally understand now that some people won't. And I can tell from a language and the way that you talk about things. If you're filled with blame, if there's no responsibility in there, if there's no sovereignty in there, then I can tell. So it's like that friend that Faith was having a problem with. If you would only play with me, I'm going to tell if you don't play. If you don't play by my rules. But a real friend just go, oh, well, ouch. But okay, yeah, well, let's come together. It doesn't even have to be ouch. But then you get to a place where it's not even ouch. There are dear people in my life now that we won't talk for months, and it's not ouch. It's fine. And then we come back together, and it's divine right timing. And there's no explanations. There's no apologies like, oh, I broke the contract. Can we get it back together? It's just all evolving. And then we grow together. So the last comment I wanted to address was somebody who said, I'm sure a lot of people want to spend time with you, but because you're so protective of your energy, they feel put off. And that is huge. Yes. Yes. Some people do want to spend time with me. I get a ton of invitations, and I'm very, very blessed, and I'm very, very grateful. And it's not that there's a shortage of that. You know, some people say, well, you should get out of your box and go do more stuff. Look, I do a lot of stuff. I have a full life. I actually am very, very, very happy. That's why I was always nervous about saying even I was single or something like that, because immediately people think, oh, something's wrong. Let me go in and fix it. Let me go in and control. Nothing's wrong. I live a full, beautiful, wonderful life. I date, I meet people, I have relationship. Maybe I'll have that. You know, I've had long-term, significant monogamous relationships, 7 years, 5 years. And maybe I'll have one that lasts the rest of my lifetime, but I'm okay if I don't. Nothing's missing. I'm okay with the relationships in my life. It's very full. And I'm filled with people who I don't owe explanations to. But I wanted to start this YouTube channel so that we could bring this into light and bring these things into conversation, because these are a lot of private conversations I'm having with students. A lot. And I know there's a lot of embarrassment and shame around it. So I decided to practice what I preach and just be vulnerable and share from the heart some of these things that I've gone through and some of these things that I'm going through. Again, because other people who've done that, not because I have brand new idea that nobody's ever had before. Nothing's brand new. No emotion on the planet is brand new. We've all experienced these different things. I want to share them through my voice because other people have done that and it's helped me. And I'm glad that they didn't stop themselves and say, well, somebody else has already done that, so who cares? Because their voice, for whatever, resonated with me. So, that's one other thing that I've received from some people. They're like, Lea, you didn't need to start a YouTube channel. You could have just talked to me. And those are the controlling people, right? You could have just talked to me. I'm like, you totally don't get it. You don't even get what I'm doing or what I'm up to. And that's okay. I send them love too, but I don't try to explain, oh no, I'm trying to do this because of that. And it's not. It's like, obviously you're not even watching the video. You're taking it personally. You're making it about you. The 4 Agreements is a great book. I highly recommend reading that if you haven't, over and over. Don't take anything personal is one of the 4 agreements. Oh my gosh, how can we do that when they're talking about me? Don't take it personal. When Faith's friend does, takes it so personally that Faith doesn't want to play with her, it has nothing to do with her. We've all been on both sides of it. But in order to create some healing and to come into the middle of this is to have some understanding and awareness. So thank you for those of you that thought that was maybe a cry for help. Like, I have no friends, help me. I'm in a great place. I love my life. It's very full. I'm very private. I don't share a ton of every moment of my life on social media. I'm being paged now, but I have a full life. I'm being paged by my mini VIP boss here. So I live a very happy, full life. Blessed.